one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Backins is asked to be excused. Mr. Brado?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Olgiati?
Here.
Mr. Tominello?
Here.
Mr. Witt? Here. Mr. Verkust?
Here. Thank you. Next would be the approval of the consent agenda, including approval of the regular board meeting minutes of September 8th, 2025, approval of the bills in the amount of $1,147,326.52, and approval of the August 2025 revenue and expenditure report. Unless there are any revisions, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
All right, is there support?
Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Olgiati with support by Ms. Brown. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next, approval of the regular agenda. Board members, prior to the beginning of the meeting, we discussed a couple of revisions due to some time constraints. I've asked that we move item E1 to item C1 and move the library report to item C2. I've also emailed you earlier today regarding a drain cleanout for the Irwin drain. Asked that it might be added to the agenda. That would be added as item F3. So unless there are any other changes, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the agenda with the 2 or 3 changes I've proposed.
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support? Support. Got a motion by Mr. Witt with support by Mr. Olgiati to approve the agenda with the proposed revisions. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you. Let's see. Next in the agenda is announcements. I do have some announcements. Thank you to everyone who joined us for our very successful Boat Town Senior Expo last Tuesday, September 16th. We had over 100 seniors in attendance and could not have asked for better weather. If you're interested in joining us next year, please contact the Senior Center, 586-466-1497. Hallapalooza is coming on Saturday, October 25th from noon until 3 p.m. at Tucker Park and the Senior Center. There will be music, treats, pony rides, a petting zoo, trunk or treating, and more. Again, call 586-466-1497 to register as a trunk or treater or see the website for more details. November will be here before you know it, and our annual Veterans Memorial Program will be on Saturday, November 1st at 1 p.m. Mark your calendars for this memorable event. You can find more information on our township website. Also, a reminder that our summer shuttle is still operating on the weekends. It runs through the end of September. You can contact the shuttle by calling 586-612-4454. For full details, you can visit the township website. And as always, for more information on these, as well as all other township events, you can call the supervisor's office at 586-466-1445 or visit our website at www.harrisontownshipmi.gov. Do any board members have any further announcements? Hearing none, I do see that we have our county commissioner in attendance, and so I would invite Ms. Barb Zinner up to the podium at this time.
Thank you. Good to be here. Some of you may not know I had a total knee done in April, and some people recover very fast. I'm in the other group that didn't recover real fast, so I'm doing much better now. That's why I haven't been here. So, glad to be here. I've kept in touch with the supervisor on and off through questions and answers and things, which has been ideal. I brought the full board meeting, which has any number of things on it. So I will go through this quickly if you would like, because it gives you the information. It's all in one area, one meeting, and it's public information. Really, the top of the one paper is nothing. We have a lot of appointments and different things. Some of that was on that meeting. Substance Use Disorder Oversight Policy Board, a lot of boards that we oversee, all kinds of them. Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, putting people into these vacancies. Usually the executive sends us the people and we make a decision on them. On that is Kenneth Goyke. I don't know if people know him from here. I didn't know him before. He had been a state rep. We have several people on the board who have been state reps before, which is ideal. And he also has done a lot of work in the water. He knows a lot about the water, and he dredges and does all kinds of things like that, too. So he has a lot of knowledge. Next was the Solid Waste Planning Committee. That was something the exec sent to us. And Mr. Goyke's on that, too. Commissioner Goyke's on that, too, which is, again, another ideal person to be on there. Those positions have now been filled at this last meeting this week. We went into proclamations. An example of one would be congratulating some Mount Clemens high school kids. Commissioner Wallace from Mount Clemens, and she has an area in Clinton Township too. She works with a lot of the high school kids. She has for several years. They made it to the state finals, and they go all over, but they've done very, very well. And so we love to see those kids. Of course, you would love to see them too. We love to see all the kids, but they've worked hard to get where they are. And there's other proclamations. That's an example of one. Presentation, one is the BOC, Board of Commissioners Casual Day recipient. This is the picture of the chairman of the board, Joe Sabatini. And I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but businesses who reach out to help citizens, especially people who give and go out of their way to help people, the citizens the people who work for the county, every Friday, if you want, you can donate money, $1 or $2, and every week that adds up. So every month, somebody comes before us, a company that they check into, of course, and we give them a check. Might be $500, might be $400, it might be $600, it might be whatever it is. And they're very happy to get that check. So we take a picture with them, and they're happy to get the money, and they explain what their job is and how they help the citizens in the county, which is great. And people like that, of course. Smart was there, giving their explanation of what they can offer for the year. I think for the year, maybe longer. They're going to be down on some money. They really need, they've worked a lot on getting the bus routes and that good. They've worked on cleaning up where the people stand and wait. They've put a lot more into it than they had originally, and we think they've done a good job. I don't know if we're going, how that did pass, but they do need more money. They would like more money. I don't know that they're going to get more money. But that was, they have done improvements, and they've done well. And it's necessary. Records and public safety. In the beginning of the year, since it was hard to find vehicles, it's hard to find vehicles sometimes, because we go through a lot of vehicles in the county, the sheriff's department alone. They bought a fleet of vehicles. They got a good cost for that, and you can't always find them in Michigan either. So we did have a couple other vehicles that in crashes or things happened, so they've had to get a couple others, and some of those are on grants. The Sheriff's Department had a couple of vehicles, and we had tasers, have to have those tasers, and opioid settlements fund, mental health, that's what with the opioids. Our mental health department in the county is second to none. I want you to know that. A lot of people, a lot of professionals are on the mental health board, and they are really vested for the citizens that need the help. Young people, older young people, adults, they are really committed. We have 2 commissioners that are on that board. Phil Kraft from New Baltimore is the chair. He's been the chair for a couple of years. He's been on the board longer than that. And Commissioner Wallace from Mount Clemens, they do a wonderful job. And the whole board, because a lot of these people from these different areas come before us. They tell us what they need. They explain what they do, and they're very detailed with their explanations. So I'm telling you, and we get the lawyers from the prosecutor's office. They tell us what they go through with young children, older children, adults. They're very specific about that. We paid for a Southeastern Michigan jail-based peer recovery services. Sacred Heart, remember that church Sacred Heart in Roseville years ago? I went to a ribbon cutting there, and that's what's great about going to some of these things. It isn't just for a picture. You learn about that. That building is wonderful. It is filled with recovery areas that are specific to a variety of needs for people who need those services. We went from the main floor to the basement. They have a second floor too I didn't go up to, although there was an elevator at that time. But there's also a bus station stop right there, which is very important, of course. They really covered everything, every need that we can think of. So that's good to know for people. And they're really excited. They're really excited to work with the citizens too. Resolutions. There was a resolution in the for the prosecutor's office about something about salaries, adjusting salaries. That was done. That really was the whole thing there. Correspondence was casual day. A letter from somebody. There's a variety of things more that we do. We started with Civic Clerk, I think 2 years ago. And Civic Clerk, every area of the county had an IT person for that group of people. The thing is that they pushed it on everybody at the same time, which maybe it should have been 1 or 2 groups of people at the same time, possibly. I don't know. I'm not in charge. The commissioners did fine. Our IT worked with us, but we don't have that many people. So some of the finances got a little behind because you're working with intricate figures and intricate things every single day. So this isn't on here, but I did want to tell you, we brought Plant Moran back in, but I can't remember which one we brought in because there's 2 names. We brought them in to assist the people we have working with audits, just because we needed more help, which is logical with the situation. We can't give you the answers right now because they're still working on it. A little behind with the state and the feds with things, but everything's working. They're working together. Everything's working as it should be. A little behind, as I said, but everything is working along. And that's my statement on that. And you know as much about as I do, and they will come up with the answers. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions from the board? Lots of information.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, and good to hear you're back on your feet. All right, any other announcements from the board? Hearing none, we'll move forward to item C1, which is a marijuana business appeal hearing. I think it comes from the clerk's office.
Yes. So as the board knows, annually our marijuana businesses are required to renew their local permits as part of the process. They're required to undergo use and occupancy inspections, conducting by our building as well as the fire department. Pac-Man 222 companies failed to schedule their use and occupancy inspections prior to the expiration of their last year's permit. After several notifications that this was part of the process. On September 8th, the clerk's office notified the permit holder that the renewal was denied for not completing the required permits as laid out, or the required inspections as laid out in our ordinance. The ordinance does allow for the permit holder to appeal any decision taken by the clerk's office, as this is how the board designed it, is where my choices are sort of taken away. It's a machine. I get to follow the ordinances this board adopt, but this board has the opportunity to hear specific issues that arise and make different decisions as fitting the matter. So the permittee submitted the attached appeal the day after the receipt of the denial. My understanding is the crux of the appeal is that they had crossed up between the use and occupancy inspections that were required with the inspections that were necessary under some open building permits, building electrical permits that were outstanding on the property. So again, the board can hear the appeal and then make a decision on it and move forward from there. So I believe the applicant is here. So if you guys like, you head up to the podium. If you wanna.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me a few minutes on the agenda. And Clerk, Mr. Witt, you stated it correctly. I didn't draft the appeal. I was asked to come the other day, but it did state the appellant's position. Essentially, Pac-Man is a marijuana processing company on Irwin. They are, I assisted them almost 2 years ago with obtaining, year and a half ago with obtaining the license. Since that time, they've infused several $100,000 into the facility. They have 35 employees that they are employing in the community, and they are trying to run a good state-of-the-art operation. This was a miscommunication and an oversight. There is some work being done inside of the property. The principals thought that the permit, the inspection was a final inspection on open permits. There's a water heater that's currently being moved pursuant to code, and there was some miscommunication between the landlord and the tenant in that regard. It was actually an inspection for the use and occupancy, which the clerk just stated. So we apologize for that confusion. They are addressing it. The inspection, I believe, is going to be on Thursday now with the township, Dan, right? So the township inspection is going to be done Thursday by Shoreline Plumbing. Our Shoreline Plumbing is doing the work, and the inspection will be done from the township on Thursday. So we are asking that you do get a little bit of grace here and reinstate the permit, please.
Yeah, and so the board's aware, he's referring to the inspection specifically for the water and heater. We've not scheduled the use and occupancy yet because, if there's no point if the board denied the appeal, there's no point in scheduling use and occupancy. So that would be scheduled after the appeal. And in the past, we've been in situations, where we've started use and occupancy inspections and there's outstanding issues. So we'll let license our permit locations continue operations until those issues are resolved, because we can always circle back and say like, hey, they failed use and occupancy or never corrected these issues, and we have other enforcement tools on the other side to be able to keep businesses in line and make sure they're, doing what our fire marshal asks or what our inspectors ask.
Any questions from the board regarding this appeal?
Yes, I have a question. I'd like to know, is this the first time that you had to renew your permit?
Yes.
This is the first time. So when did you start your business over there?
About a year and a half ago, you gave us exceptional to add another license, and it was a very rocky. We really just started right now, being pretty good. We have 35 employees. My background, I want to tell you that, is more on the building. So I build commercial, industrial. I do that right now in different places. I never worked here. So my mindset was, I need a plumbing finish, I need electrical. We have 2 open permits. Until I finish that, I cannot call building. So I did see the email, I need a building permit. Like, I'm not going to get a CFO. My mindset is like that. When I got that a day before I really wanted to schedule it. And then we passed it in a day, and I went to Adam, it's like, listen, the building permit is not because of the CFO. You regardless need to have a building permit. So we don't have no violations. The fire department, the BFS, it's the state fire department, did approve us because the city gave us the license and the state gave us 4 months after the license. So the state already gave us that approval. It was misunderstanding, really. That's, I usually build houses, buildings, and I didn't thought I'm going to pass, so I didn't know.
Presently still operating?
Yes, and we did pay the 5,000 for the permit right on time. Like, this wasn't, it just, usually, if I knew it, I would just at the same time pay the 5,000, tell them, let's schedule that permit. But when we're going to pass it, we're going to pass everything inspected, like electrical, plumbing, all new. So we did change, and not the use, but we did, once we start working, we needed more electrical, more plumbing, more items. We worked with the city to pull permits to do it by code, so we're.
Yeah, and I mean, just as maybe a bit of a parallel, they took over, I want to say we approved them in like October of '23-ish for their original application because they took over from a business that failed. The market failed the business. And it was a business that we had seen as an applicant several times, but ultimately the market took care of it and we didn't have to. And so if we're in a position personally, my default on these is going to be let the market decide who stays open and who doesn't. We're going to, as long as they go through the process and end up getting their permits and getting their inspections done and operate a business that meets our requirements, I think we should give them the ability to move forward. One board member.
Yeah, and we're talking about a functioning business that's been in place with current employees and, in a challenged environment. So from my perspective, it does seem like it's a misunderstanding. I suppose if we were here a year from now and it was a parallel misunderstanding, it might be kind of questionable to say, well, gee whiz, we talked about this a year ago. But at this point, knowing that it's a fairly new operator in that location, it seems to me reasonable to allow them to move forward, get that use and occupancy inspection and, everything required for the renewal. Mr. Huth, is it possible that we, one of two things, I guess, is going on here. Either the appellate is here because of a misunderstanding, or, and I'm not suggesting this, or something less than honest. So is it reasonable for us to say, okay, well, we'll give a certain time period to have that done if we do this, so that we're kind of saying, we'll give you the break, but you got to do what you need to do, and if you don't do it by that time, then, something like that?
Well, yes, we can fashion a solution if the board wants to go that way. There would be two ways to do it. One would be to adjourn this appeal until the inspections are done, or if you wanted to grant the appeal, get a commitment from them that they get the inspections done, and if you felt like they had thumbed their nose at us and we're not cooperating, the fact of the matter is they come back to you next August anyway, and you have discretion to review their behavior. So you still have some leverage with them.
Mm-hmm. Well, so in the past, when we do a use and occupancy, review, we're literally inspecting facilities, making sure everything's in order. I don't know about the rest of the board, but I kind of like the idea of saying, well, let's just not, end the permit or close the location or whatever terminology you might use, but excuse me, I like the idea of adjournment to say, let's just give it a period of time, because maybe the results of that, results of that use and occupancy inspection might be influential to the board. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that.
The only, I understand the point, but I think they're either going to pass or fail the use and occupancy. eventually.
Okay.
Right? So
Right.
they're going to go, our departments go in and say, hey, we see this switch needs to be replaced, this thing can't be stacked up against the wall, and we're going to come back in a week and check it. So they're either going to pass or fail, and I think the time constraint, if the board was looking to do something like that, might be, you need to schedule your use and occupancy inspections within the next 14 days or something like that.
Because the
And then
machine takes care of
The
the rest.
machine will take care of the rest.
Fair enough.
So it doesn't, doing the use and occupancy doesn't make sense if we're saying like, hey, you were late on doing it, but, we want to check and see if you passed test before we decide. But, it's up to,
Right, no, I like that, I understand. Is that clear? I don't know, to other board members, I mean, the people who are doing these inspections, it's really either a pass or fail, but in between pass or fail is, hey, got the small issue, I'm gonna come back in a week and make sure, that it's cleaned up. So then before us could be, to deny the appeal, to approve the appeal, or to set a timeline for, that to be scheduled, is what you're.
I would say that would be the one of the best paths forward.
Okay, any thoughts, discussions, board members? You kind of seem like you have a good handle. Are you willing to make a motion, Mr. Witt?
I'm happy to, I would make a motion to approve the appeal pending passing their use and occupancy, and that the use and occupancy inspections must be scheduled in 14 days, or
I'll support that.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Witt, with support by Mr. Brado. Any discussions, board members? Questions, issues?
So we'll know after 14 days whether everything's been required.
well, they'll have scheduled the thing, so it's working with, all our trades inspectors, our building inspector, our fire marshal, and so I can't tell you that the fire marshal doesn't have a 2-week vacation
I
scheduled
understand.
tomorrow.
Right, the key is that we're saying, listen, you at least need to schedule it. If you go in there and say, everything looks good, but you should have these materials in a fireproof cabinet, buy the cabinet, we're gonna come back in a week and see it's there. I don't necessarily
and
want to
basically
tie the
that's-
inspector's hands.
And basically, that's our normal process, so you're basically returning it to us, the condition that the board's putting on them is that we're saying, hey, you need to schedule this within 14 days.
But the rest of the inspection process would be the same as the others. It's either pass or fail. And sometimes between passing and the first inspection is maybe some follow-up inspections. And that's a regular part of things. If our inspector feels that they aren't addressing something, and, they can always come back and make an issue with it. So if we ask anybody that's going to speak, we'd want them to speak on the microphone, so that,
My thought in it is that the inspections are what we failed on, not having them done. So Scheduling of it. So I'm doing everything I can to get you in there as fast as possible. Like, that's what you want, is to get into the building and see it. So that's what we're doing. You can put time frames on everything, but it's happening this week.
Yep. Any other issues, board members? Is there any, because we've got some folks at the podium, is there any public comment that we haven't heard? Hearing none. We've got a motion by Mr. Witt with support by Mr. Brado to approve the appeal pending passing the use and occupancy inspections and scheduling those inspections within the next 14 calendar days?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board, and thank you to the folks from Pac-Man for coming.
Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next on our agenda is item C2 from the library. We're fortunate to have Melissa from the library here to give us our annual report.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Goins, and I am the library director here at the Harrison Township Public Library. I have been the director since 2018 and have started as a volunteer in that library in 2010 when it was a volunteer library. So I've been there for a long time. This library has my heart. So thank you for letting me have a moment to talk to you all. I have some good things to share because we are thriving. I do not want to read this. Oh, for those of you in the audience, there are copies of the annual report back here if you'd like to follow along or pick up one on your way out. We're doing very well. Our expenditures are on the very first page, and I've compared that to other libraries in the state of Michigan so that you could see how we stack up. These are the state statistics, go by class sizes. Harrison Township is a Class 4 library. Class 4 libraries just mean that we serve a population in between 12,000 to 25,999 people. And Harrison Township has a population of 24,314 people. So that's what makes us a Class 4 library. And we are one of 84 Class 4 libraries in the state of Michigan. As you can see on page 2, I've done a comparison by population size. We're in the upper levels of that Class 4 library status. So we are the 9th largest Class 4 library in the state. And just to give you some perspective about libraries nearby that are Class 4 libraries, they include libraries like Mount Clemens Library, Fraser, Auburn Hills, and the McDonald Public Library in New Baltimore. Our service hours, you can see the comparison at the bottom. We are open more than the state average for our service hours. And then you can see on the right-hand side by square footage. While we are the 9th largest library by population size, by square footage, we are the 3rd smallest. So we are quite small. The 2 libraries that are behind us in square footage are the Fruitport District Library and the Lenox Township District Library. On page 3 are our expenditures, our operating expenses compared to the state average for other Class 4 libraries. And you can see that we are under the state average in every single category except for one. And that one single category is the amount of money that we spend on our collection. Because of our small size, we can fit at any given time about 30,000 materials in our library. So we are regularly adding and removing materials so that our collection can stay fresh. And we are very much what we would call in the industry a popular materials library. So if it circulates, it can stay in the library. If it doesn't regularly check out, it's got to go. We just don't have the room for it. Let's see. Because our space is small, of course, our collection is as well. We can fit about 30,000 items at any given time. The most circulated items in the library in 2024 were the children's puppets with 613 checkouts, followed by the Wi-Fi hotspots with 183 checkouts. Of the 84,000 checkouts that we had in 2024, just under 6,000 of them were from Melcat. Now, Melcat is a statewide interlibrary loan program that is funded through the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Because we have a small footprint and we have a small collection, having access to the Melcat services are imperative for our library, and it's really important to us. We use it regularly. This year we continued to see a little bit of a digital shift where people are using digital resources more. Physical resources are sort of holding steady. We saw a bigger increase over COVID where people weren't visiting the physical library as much and using the digital resources more. This year we're seeing that shift rate decrease just a little bit and hold steady. Some of the biggest decreases in our digital databases were Freegal, which is a music database, and Bookflix, which is from Scholastic, and it is a learning resource for children. However, even though Bookflix, we saw some decreased numbers this year, it's still our #1 circulating database with 17,000 checkouts in 2024. Right behind that with 15,000 checkouts was Libby and Overdrive, and that's ebooks and e-audiobooks as well as e-magazines. We are seeing increases in computer usage, not just the computers that are down in the library, but also with the Wi-Fi. We had 1,000 more uses in 2024 of those services than we did in 2023. Digital magazines had 4,400 checkouts, and digital newspapers had 5,415. Over 2023, that was a 120% increase. Not really a fair comparison because we only had it for part of the year in 2023. Lastly, our library programs remain some of our most popular services. As you can see, in 2024, we offered 512 library programs, which is 141 more programs than state average. So we're doing really well in that department. We also had, of those, 10,657 people attending those programs, and that's more than 2,000 than the state average. the library is doing great things, and we hope to continue to do so well into 2025, into 2026. You guys have any questions?
I have a question about the magazine and newspaper. How does your checkout compare to other libraries? I mean, I know maybe you didn't research that, but is it?
Yeah, that's very individual, like they don't release that to the public, like individual usage statistics like that. I imagine ours is pretty good. We do offer the Macomb Daily and the New York Times digitally, and those are very, very popular.
Oh, yeah. And the Detroit
Personally.
News, too, if you need it. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, I don't know how those compare to other libraries, but my guess is that those are popular compared to other
Okay.
libraries.
I will tell you, the newspapers, like, the amount I save in not being a subscriber to the Macomb Daily or the Detroit News has saved me more than I paid in the library taxes every year. So,
Sure,
like,
yeah,
if you're not leveraging this stuff, like, you're missing out, so.
True facts, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Melissa.
Melissa does a great job. The library is small but mighty, and soon it'll be getting bigger. All right, next on our agenda is item D1 from the Fire Department regarding hiring a firefighter paramedic. Board members, the Fire Department is requesting approval to hire Brendan Chung as a probationary firefighter paramedic. Brendan has met the qualifications required to be a probationary firefighter paramedic at Harrison Township Fire Department. The hiring approval is pending the passing results from the the psychological evaluation, background investigation, and pre-employment physical examination. Should we hire Brendan Chung, it would bring our fire suppression personnel staffing to 26. We typically have historically tried to be around 27 positions. Further, Chief did send an email to the board explaining he was not able to be at tonight's meeting, but he said Brendan Chung has lived in Macomb County his whole life. He's attended the Macomb County Public Safety Institute's Fire Academy, as well as the paramedic program, received his medic license in May of this year. He has a brief stint at another agency, and the fire department believes he would be a good addition to our department. Keep in mind that this decision to bring on a probationary firefighter comes with a 1-year probation. We recently reached just prior to the 1-year anniversary for another individual, and the decision was made for that individual to resign. So it is a process, right? So we can go through all the things we want, all the testing, but putting someone in position for a year also gives us a window. So at this time, the recommendation is to hire Brendan Chung as a firefighter paramedic, pending the background investigation, psychological examination, a physical/medical examination, and obviously 1-year probation.
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Witt with support by Mr. Olgiati. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. We already heard the item that was formerly E1, so we'll move on to item F1 regarding Waterfront Park. Excuse me. The project at Waterfront Park is complete. There has been some reseeding, and the work has to be completed before any final payments are made. During the project, we had a few changes due to numerous issues. The original bid amount awarded to E.C. Cornefeld was $1,304,975. June 24th of 2024, that bid was awarded, and contingencies brought that total awarded by the board to $1,370,000. So about $65,000 in contingencies. Change order 1 was $79,812. The original request at the time was a 10% contingency, and so the engineering, the construction management perceived that this change was within that 10% contingency, and in fact, it exceeded the amount approved by the board. The change that was done involved removal of 154 feet of 36-inch corrugated metal pipe, which was replaced with 30-inch HDPE double wall pipe, as well as additional support for conduit on the pier. I think the additional support for conduit was about $500, maybe $575. But running along the north side of the property is a large storm drain that drains all the way back to Shook and Jefferson. It runs through a large pump station on the property. The corrugated metal pipe we knew was in kind of poor condition. We had actually TV'd it, during the floods, in 2019 and 20 back then. Our guys have done some patches to portions of it based on sinkholes. So this was one of those change orders that once we uncovered it, there really wasn't much of a choice. It just, you've got equipment in place, and there was no way to attach to the existing corrugated metal pipe. The next proposed change by the contractor was to replace the stone fill between the concrete pads for the kayak launch with an M.S2 mix. I don't have a real strong opinion, but basically it's a pretty tenacious grout or cement used to fill in cracks. The contractor proposed doing that work at a cost of $12,400. When it was proposed to me, I felt that was a pretty high cost, and I was concerned that any grout on those cement pads might crack or freeze and pop. So I said I'd rather hold off on the work. Unfortunately, the contractor moved ahead with that change in large part because it was at the end of last year's construction season and weather was threatening. Based on the fact that they did the work, and the work was satisfactory, but my concerns were that it might freeze and pop over the freeze and thaw cycle. I'd asked to hold off on approving the change because I was concerned that winter conditions could destroy the fill. We had a pretty harsh, pretty strong cold winter, and the fill did hold up well. This spring, the contractor remobilized and finished the project. During the layout of the concrete path work, we asked the contractor to add some additional sidewalk and concrete. We put some cement along the, I guess it would be the east side of the bathhouse, and we also added an area connected to the concrete where the bike rack could be moved. So, because we lost that area in front where the mural was added. We also requested additional stone and riprap alongside the path near the pier. It's kind of a low area there. We were concerned it was kind of a trip and fall hazard. We received the change order from the contractor in early July, and we were surprised by the amount of the change order. We met with the contractor, had a discussion about the cost, and through negotiation, the contractor agreed to reduce that change order by $10,000, which was roughly about what their markup was. We also requested a breakdown showing the cost to restore half of the volleyball court that was disturbed when Harbor Point, with condos to the south, used it for sediment removal. The final cost of change order 2 includes $12,400 for grouting the ramp, as well as $74,287.61 in additional site work. The total cost in excess of the amount approved by the board. I have the figures there, the $1.3 million, the $79,000 change order, $12,000 change order, and the final $74,000 change order, or 1.47 minus the 1.37 that the board had originally approved. So this final change order brings that to an additional $101,474.61 above the original amount approved by the board. The cost to restore half of the volleyball court, Harbor Point, the condo association has agreed to pay that share, $5,271.67. So I am requesting approval to pay E.C. Cornefel $86,687.61 for change orders 2 and 3, and invoice Harbor Point $5,271.67. I can tell the board through correspondence, property manager for Harbor Point has agreed that they would pay that amount. They did ask that we might recognize that by adding a plaque somewhere on the property recognizing frankly, between this contribution and the money that they've given us to utilize the parking lot. It's helping to pay for some of the improvements to the park, and we just want to recognize that, so.
Can we get a plaque in their parking lot, in their harbor for,
Yes. Yep.
teamwork, we each get plaques.
I'm gonna have a plaque made and drop it in the bottom of the harbor
Yeah.
so we can show where the sediment used to be and
Yeah.
appreciation for helping them get rid of
Yeah.
sediment. The motion is to pay EZ Cornfell $86,687.61 for change orders 2 and 3, and to invoice Harbor Point $5,271.67.
So moved.
Okay. Is there support?
Support.
Work's done, park was a success. The largest change order was replacement of that 36-inch corrugated metal pipe. And frankly, had we not done that work and finished this, we'd have been a lot closer to the contingency, but we might have had a sinkhole or two a year or two from now, and we'd be back not only paying for this work, but mobilizing equipment to be able to do it.
And that was work that we talked about doing when we were at the high water point.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we're thinking about doing the seawall, let's look at what it looks like when we get there.
Yeah.
So,
So we really didn't anticipate the work, but I think it's fair to say that we're not surprised by that initial change order, and it really wasn't an option. I mean, it was something that had to be done. Work that dates back to the mid-90s, I believe. So we've got a motion with support. Is there any discussion or questions?
I just wanted to mention that living close to the park, it's a tremendous asset for our community. I think it's beautiful. It's growing in nicely. The grass was a little concerned about that for a while, but it is growing in nicely. In regards to the use from Harbor Point for the parking lot right now, we are in the process of dredging out our channel. I think this is a perfect example of government working with the community people to make the area more beautiful and to be able to utilize the biggest asset that we have in our community is Lake St. Clair.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate the fact that the township worked with us in regards to allowing us to put our dredging spoils in there. I know it's not the most pleasant situation for people right now, but it is a necessary evil, and I think that in the near future, we're going to see more and more communities are going to have cooperation with government to be able to get these canals and these different channels dredged out.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate that. Thank you.
And it's generated a lot of interest. I know the contractor had a lot of inquiries from other folks interested in having that work done. This is dredging or removing sediment is a necessary part of being a waterfront community. In a perfect world, we would dig a harbor and it would stay that way, but the reality is without maintaining a harbor, pretty soon we don't have waterfront property, and the tax base and the property values suffer, and so does the tax revenue. So
And it's not an inexpensive process.
No.
You understand living in the area, you have to keep the community nice, so
absolutely.
thank you.
Yep. Any other discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next on the agenda is, so get through all of this.
The new one you added, maybe.
Nope, the resolution regarding marijuana locations. I just got a lot of attachments here. Here we go. All right. Board members, when we adopted our various ordinances to allow cannabis businesses in Harrison Township, we included provisions in the ordinances to allow the number of locations to be modified by resolution. Since the last resolution allowing 24 locations for growing and processing, 2 locations were eliminated due to closing or not renewing. In addition, we had allowed 2 locations for safety compliance facilities and 2 locations for secure transporters. We currently have no safety compliance facilities and only 1 location for secure transport. The attached resolution was drafted and would alter these locations to a total of 23 locations for growing/processing, 1 location for safety compliance, and 1 location for secure transport. We were approached by one of the current grower-processor businesses. They explained that when they started, they saw a limited need for packaging, but the business is shifting to more packaged products within the cannabis industry. The requirements for entering a grow facility are complicated due to the need to prevent pests and airborne molds and bacteria from entering the facility. So where originally a lot of these locations said we're going to co-locate growing and processing, they're finding that that may not be the best arrangement. The business that approached us has purchased a vacant building in the industrial park. This location needs improvements and investment. They are looking to improve the location. They would like to pull an additional license and move their packaging to that location. This will streamline the use of their facilities as well as see an additional location licensed, which is additional revenue, and a location improved. The net result of this resolution would actually reduce the total number of cannabis facilities allowed in the park by one, while allowing the expansion of an existing successful and compliant business. I'll note this operator has never been before us with an appeal or frankly any issue with non-compliance that I'm aware of.
Correct.
Yep. So this also leads to the improvement of one building. Neighboring communities have unlimited locations available. I believe Chesterfield Township currently has open facilities. So while this business could say we're just going to put a facility in Chesterfield, they'd prefer to stay in Harrison Township, keep their operations closer. So I recommend that we adopt the proposed resolution as presented, which would modify the number of marijuana locations as discussed. Discussions, questions, or a motion?
I think that's reasonable.
All right. Is there support?
I'll support that.
Okay. Got a motion by Mr. Tominello, support by Mr. Brado. Any discussion, board members? Questions, concerns? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Tominelli?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Backens is excused. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkest?
Yes. Thank you, board. Last on our agenda, item F3, which was an addition. Board members had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Don Brown. He is the Deputy Public Works Commissioner for Macomb County. And as in the past, Public Works has identified a drain that needs some maintenance. The Irwin drain, it runs, kind of north of Joy Boulevard from the other side of Gratiot, runs across, parallel to Joy Boulevard, but north of Joy Boulevard, it runs under I-94, ultimately runs up along 94, up and around the north side of Selfridge Air National Guard Base. So the drain does drain a portion of Clinton Township. It runs really between a couple of the mobile home parks in the north side of Harrison Township. They've identified mucking, clearing, and restoring the banks at a cost of about $22,000. Public Works does not charge for their equipment, so typically contractors will add that in. And they include only 25% of the personnel costs. So for $11,000, we're getting a drain cleaned out that would be substantially more than that. We kind of depend on them. They've been a great partner. So our cost would be half of that, or $11,335. I recommend that we authorize that expenditure for half of the cost to clean out the Irwin drain.
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support? A motion by Mr. Witt with support by Mr. Brado. I will add that there is another drain in the township that they've identified that needs more substantial work. They don't have a cost estimate at this time, and they're not sure if they'll be able to still do it this season. So it's likely that I might be back with a parallel request. But again, I mean, in the time that Candace has been our Public Works Commissioner, she understands drains probably more than the average person because of being in Harrison Township, being so close to the water, and having such a challenge. And, for the first, I don't know what time period that is when she came in, I guess 16. But for the first 5-6 years of my time as supervisor, we couldn't get drains done. And since that time, in roughly 9-10 years, we've had some immense large volumes of work done, and it's made a huge difference in drainage in the township, so.
So I've seen her newsletters that she sends out about different drains in the community that she cleans out, not only in Harrison Township, but in other areas. Does the public works, do they identify the drains, or do we make recommendations for drains that we'd like them to look at?
So-
Or do they go, just
Yeah.
for an educational?
Yeah, great question. So really both. Initially, so for example, throughout our history, the Vanter de Buff from the Beechwood pump station to the Siesta pump station, that was one where we kind of brought that to them. That was several years ago. In other cases, this Irwin drain has been, so I should say that there has historically been some flooding along this drain and in those mobile home parks. There's a combination of issues that contribute to it, but certainly the portion of the drain that runs under 94 and north along there, which was done maybe 2 years ago by memory, I can't remember. That was one that the county did themselves. And this is kind of like a next step. So this is one that they brought to us, but in the past, I've brought some things to them, and so it's been a partnership. Yep. Any other discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next on our agenda is item G, public comment. So we'll open the floor for public comment at this time. Could be about any subject that you'd like, but we ask that you try to limit those comments to 5 minutes in length.
Shall I start now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I did want to mention, since I was going to come up here, that I was able to make attend all the meetings of the Board of Commissioners, and I was able to attend the OAC meetings that I chair and the Martha T. Berry meetings that I attend monthly. I was glad I was able to. Also, the dredging that you talked about, someone had called me about some ducks at that site. And so I went over to look, and the ducks were now not having a problem. They were out in the water eating, of course. And but I saw the dredger there, the one on land, and what a wonderful man. And he really knows what he's doing. And he showed me the water coming in, and then I saw the water going out. It was so different. It was all clean, and it was just. They really know what they're doing. I mean, they do this is what they do all over the country, but we're lucky to have them, I would imagine. And a couple commissioners and I, and the executive met us up there too. We went to the waste management facility in Lennox. Have you ever been there?
Yes, but not a tour.
That was absolutely amazing. It's huge. It is just mammoth. And they explained everything to us, which really didn't take that long. Of course, you had commissioners there, so we're asking questions. I think Mark even had a couple questions. It was really, really interesting. And I can't tell you how, it was really interesting. It was a great experience, honestly. And we're just going up this hill and up this hill, and the trucks never stop. A lot of those, Goike said, were from Canada, but there's an arrangement. And when you get to the top, they're on an angle. Those truckers, those workers, they're on an angle. They're covering stuff up. I'm telling you, it was really a learning experience. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Dave Santoro, 41630 Belvedere. I was here last month in regards to these Airbnbs in the community. And I'm here again tonight to ask if there's been any thought or any kind of research or any movement on this issue.
So it isn't a back and forth, it's public comment.
Yes.
We can respond after public comment is closed, but we're not going to give you an answer while you're at the podium.
Okay, but is this still under consideration, look at all this stuff?
We'll respond to it once public comment is closed.
Thank you.
C. William Bardell, 29-year resident, clean cut, do-gooder boy next door, clean up, fix up, people helping people. Just want to remind everyone real quick, please check out Save Lake St. Clair on Facebook, press like, follow, and there's some reading material there for you, and we'll continue the battle. I just want to comment a little bit about these Airbnbs. I know the people were here last time, and I had already spoken in public comment, but I didn't get my chance to pile on, so to speak. But I've got an Airbnb on Elm Lane I've been complaining about for about 6 years. And I brought it to the supervisor. I've talked to a bunch of people, ordinance, everything. The guy, well, first thing, he never cut the lawn. I never saw weed and feed. I don't know what was growing there. Never cut the lawn. Garbage day was Thursday. They'd put it out on Sunday. It wouldn't pick it up for maybe 3 weeks. I complained for about 5 years. And it wasn't until I got, and again, I talked to Ken, and Ken said, well, the state, blah, 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 this and that. And then I talked to other people. I said, well, don't Airbnbs have to follow the same ordinances as the average Joe, the regulatory ordinances? Oh, yes, but blah, 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 blah. And then I talked to more people, and indeed, yes, they do have to follow the proper ordinances. So, to make a short story long, it wasn't until I got a FOIA that I found out there's my 20 complaints. There's one warning, and then, 3 weeks after my FOIA, they got a $150 ticket. Well, drive down Elm Lane right now, the dumpster's still sitting out there. Okay, garbage day was Thursday. So if you think these Airbnbs are not a problem, they are a problem. I've been complaining about it for 6 years. Nothing's been happening. Okay? So these other people, so I don't know if it means, people taking their clothes off. Does that get your attention? I don't know what it is that's going to make you get these things out of residential neighborhoods. But, it's disgusting. I don't know what you want to call it, gross, sick, disgusting. We have to live here. We all have to maintain our property. This guy that lives in Shelby, I saw him out there one time, and he put his can out on Sunday. I'm in my backyard. I said, hey, why don't you take the garbage with you? Bring a contractor bag. And, he was a good BSer, very charming, very good BSer. And he says, you got any contractor bags? And I thought, man, this guy is Slick Willie. And sure enough, of course he doesn't live in Harrison Township. He lives in Shelby. So I don't know if this is a dumping ground? Is Harrison Township, are we coming here and are they slumming it? But we have to live here. So I don't know. I like to see some action. I would figure after 6-7 years of me playing the bad cop that somebody would do something. I'd like to be the good cop once in a while. So thank you for listening, and hopefully we sharpen our pencils. And if you provide lip service to this and say, well, I didn't know about it, everybody knows about it. Everybody knows these Airbnbs are terrible in residential neighborhoods. Golly gee. Okay? So if you provide lip service that is incongruent, I'll comment again next time. Okay? So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment. With all due respect, I'm going to guess you're going to comment next time regardless. Never did I answer you with the words blah, blah, blah. But what I did in fact tell you is that case law at a state level was not in our favor at the time. And the state legislature was looking at various legislation to regulate Airbnbs. For lack of a better word, somebody in the state had to take on Airbnbs, and they did so at probably a pretty significant cost. The good news is, fairly consistently, I guess I'd say, the state has upheld the ability of locals to regulate Airbnbs. I think a lot of the decisions in recent decisions have had language basically drawing a parallel between a hotel and an Airbnb. So let's talk about rentals in general. If we're talking about a rental, say I've got a home and I bought an extra home and I rent it out, and I rent it out a year at a time, that's generally a residential use. But if I have to have a daily rate and I have to have a housekeeper when you leave, that sounds an awful lot like a hotel. And so despite a long time and lots of costs at high court levels, a few different municipalities have gotten to that point where they've established case law saying that Airbnbs are not a residential use, and municipalities are allowed to prohibit them in a residential zoning district. So based on that, I went to our township attorney and said I would like to have legislation ordinances that back that up, because contrary to what the last speaker might have said, we're not going to pay lip service to this. It's real simple. I wouldn't want it next to my house, and none of the examples, let me say this, I shouldn't say none of the examples. I'm sure that there have been people who have engaged in a short-term rental in Harrison Township. Frankly, I've had a short-term rental in other places in our country. I'd like to think I was respectful of the fact that I was in a neighborhood. Unfortunately, some people, when they're in a short-term rental, this is their vacation, this is party time, and their example of how to behave is less than desirable. It is way, way easier to cater to the 19 other people on the street than the one person who chooses to rent to poor players. So I can't imagine there's anybody on this side of the table that wants to see that behavior in neighborhoods. But I never said blah, blah, blah. What I said is, if we step into this right now, we're going to get our rear end sued, and we're going to end up going all the way to state Supreme Court to make case law. So a little bit of patience. Someone else did that. They've done that heavy lifting. We've drafted ordinances that would prohibit this in a residential district. I can't speak specifically to where we're at sequentially because it's in the Planning Commission. And so, Mr. Tominelli, you may be able to speak to that, but the recommendation was, as we're revising our other zoning ordinances, we should incorporate that in to kind of save costs, make it kind of a global thing. And I wouldn't in any way suggest that we're in no hurry to do it, but generally speaking, our Airbnbs in Harrison Township are typically on canal or lakefront properties. They're typically associated with that boating season. You know, I can't say always and never, but I don't think our season is primarily driven in the winter months. It's usually those summer months when people might say, I'm going to go to a fishing tournament, or I want to, take a vacation, be near the water, put my boat in, and so forth. So we are working on them. Case law does currently support us on our ability to do it. And Mr. Tominello, maybe you have anything to add on this, on the process?
Sure, I'll try to talk
Between
about
costs and snorts.
So we are completed with our review of our ordinance amendments. They are completed, and if I recall, I believe Airbnbs or any rentals, I believe it was 90 days or less. Don't quote me on that. It might be 30 days or less is not going to be allowed. That was one of the amendments we talked about. So we do have to go through, there's a process we have to go through.
Don't get choked up. I know, it's personal.
And we are working on that. We did not have a meeting this month, but we should have that done very soon. By the end of the year, it should be in place.
All right. So that's where we stand on it. We want to move forward. The process isn't always as fast as we'd like. And the state legislature still has not acted, but they have in the past proposed legislation that would prohibit locals from banning short-term rentals. But the language has typically said they have to at least allow a minimum of 2 weeks out of the year. I don't think it makes any sense for anybody to try to have an Airbnb in Harrison Township that they can only rent for 2 weeks out of the year. What do you do for the other 50 weeks? So, and that's an if come from the legislature. So the short answer is we're on the same side as you and we're working to get it done, but it does take time. Any other board comment? Hearing none, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, with a motion and support to adjourn, discussion, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Go Lions.